Hey guys, I'm gonna show you 3 puzzles that engines don't understand very well. Even Stockfish, probably the best engine in the world right now, is having a really bad time analyzing these positions. Let's go with the puzzles. So white plays here and they can get a draw, even when black has a very big material advantage like 2 rooks versus a bishop. White will need to be very creative, but they can still save the game. I will explain it right now. If you want, you can pause the video. The first move in this position should be the surprising bishop a4 check. And after this move, black has like 2 options. They can play king c4 or they can capture the bishop. But after king c4, we can just play bishop b3 and the king will have to come back to b5. So it doesn't change anything. So let's get into the main line. King takes a4. Then we just play here b3. Only move for black is king b5. We play c4. Only move king c6. d5, king d7, and e6. Here black can play some things, but it doesn't change too much. Probably the best move is the capture of the bishop. And then we will play the move f5. The idea is that in this position white has created a fortress. There's nothing black can do to use these major pieces or the bishop. The bishop is going to be trapped behind this chain of pawns, so there won't be a way to make progress for black in this position. Of course, something essential here is that if there is a gift, like rook d7, rook c6, we don't have to capture. If we capture, we are lost. So we need to keep the pawns just like they are right now, but if we do that, it's going to be a draw. Again, white can get a draw, even when they have a decisive disadvantage. The first move in this position should be the strong knight e4 check, and the idea is that if black takes the knight, there could be checkmate here on e1. Of course, black doesn't have to capture, they can just play king h4, but then we have another beautiful move in this position, and it is this knight g3. The idea is that now we are giving checkmate here on f5, but also we need to analyze that if the king takes, this checkmate again with the bishop on e1, but if the pawn takes, there is this idea of bishop b6. This is a position we will analyze in other variations, but the main idea here is that this is going to be a fortress. There's no win for black. We will see it very soon. So after knight g3, we are threatening checkmate. So the other thing black can try is something like queen f8, controlling f5, and then there is this idea, bishop e1, again threatening checkmate with knight there. So this time black will be forced to capture. So f takes g3 and bishop f2, avoiding checkmate over here, but also putting the bishop on this diagonal. This is going to be essential since we are stopping the advance of these pawns. And well, here black can try some things. For example, if they take the bishop with the queen, is a stalemate. That's not working. If they take the bishop with the pawn, there is this move g3 check, and black has two moves, king h3 or king g3. Either way is going to be a stalemate, so this is not going to work for black. And well, out of that, for example, c5, we just take the pawn on c5, and if the queen takes, again it's a stalemate. And finally there is this move, queen f3. It's a queen sacrifice, but we don't have to take that queen, so we can just play something like bishop somewhere, and when the queen gives a check, we block. And if there is something like queen f2 here, observe that queen takes bishop does not get anything because the king cannot move out of h4, and our king is going to be controlling and blocking and stopping the passed pawns, so there's no win here. So if they try something like queen f2 in this position, again we capture and we play g3, and this is the same idea, stalemate again. So after this bishop f2, if they play something like d4, we capture. If they play something like c5, we capture again. And well, as we said, if he takes, it's a stalemate, and if he doesn't take and he goes check, we play bishop g1. Again, after queen f2, we just capture here, and then we play g3, and this is a draw. One more time, Stockfish has big problems understanding positions like this, especially, for example, this fortress here, where the bishop is controlling and blocking always, and if there is an advance, we can just take either pawn, because when the queen recaptures, assuming the queen defends those pawns, it's going to be a stalemate. And this is the last puzzle. Here is white's turn, and they can save the game. And this is more complicated than it seems, because in this position black is playing king g7 or king g6, followed by rook h8, rook h2, capturing pawns over there and promoting very fast. We can also capture some pawn, but the pawn is on the 6. It's going to be very well protected by pawn, by rook, and it's going to be winning for black more or less easily if they can do that. So it looks like white is lost here. However, they can still save the game. The right move. We can just play king b1 here. That seems to be like doing nothing. But the idea is that we want to get closer over there. So once the king goes to g7, clearing the line to play rook h8, we're just going to play this surprising and beautiful move, rook h6. Once the king captures the rook, because if they don't, we don't have any problem here. We are controlling the h file, so there won't be infiltration in our position. So probably the most dangerous line is when they capture the rook, and then we just get a little closer, and when the rook goes to h8, we just play king e2. This position seems like completely won for black. I mean, they have a whole rook up. However, when we analyze a little, we can see that there's no win here for black. They can play, for example, rook h2. Observe that rook h1 is not going to work. It's a stalemate. The king cannot move. So they can try here rook h2, and then we are just in time to defend the pawn. There might be a check. We go up, but the rook has to go away from the back rank because again it's going to be a stalemate. So probably the best try for black is just sacrificing the rook for a pawn, but then it's going to be a draw. I mean, the king can make some progress over there, but there's a moment where they won't have a way to continue making progress. Like here, if the king goes to a3, we just play king h1, and this is a draw. But also if they try other things like sacrificing the pawn, it's not getting anything. It's going to be a draw either way. So what happened in these repulses is that in general there was like a fortress where one of the sides had a very big material advantage but didn't have a way to make progress. This is very confusing for engines because they see they have a material advantage and they give too much importance to the material, and they calculate maybe like 15-20 moves and they see they're not making progress but they still see the material up, and that's why they evaluate those positions like winning, but we know that it's not what is going to happen. So if you guys have any question, let me know in the comments. Check out this video over here. I'm sure you will enjoy it. Thank you, like, subscribe. See you on the next.